OBS.
And it's on you, Sean.
Cool. Well, hey guys. Thanks for joining. My name is Sean, aka Sinak. For those that aren't familiar with me, I have my LinkedIn details in my Discord profile. But today we're going to talk about iPhone security hardening. Um, this is going to be more on a personal level. I'm not going to go over like device configurator or MDM, things like that. Um, this is how to secure yourself, like personally with your personal iPhone. Um, but if you guys are interested in future topics, I could talk more about outside of just security itself, more privacy, maybe even more on the enterprise level as well. So let me know. I'll go open to feedback on that. So yeah, iPhones. I'll start this out. Everybody has their opinions whether iPhone versus Android, what's more secure, this and that, what's, closed source versus open source proprietary versus other things. So I'm not going to be here to debate that today. I will say, a large majority of security folks have iPhones out there. And there are, the Android side of the house where you have Google Pixels, you have Samsung, you have hardened operating systems like Graphene. But I'm going to leave that out on this topic and just focus on the iPhone users themselves. I myself, I have a iPhone as my daily driver as well as a Graphene OS Android phone, and I mix between the two depending on what kind of work I'm doing. But there are ways to secure your iPhone um, to a certain extent. I will say probably the Graphene OS option is probably the most secure option out there. But for those that are in the Apple ecosystem, there are ways to help limit your exposure and give yourself some extended protection. A lot of things I'm going to cover today are Apple recommendations for security, but I'm going to go a little bit beyond that with some recommendations from CIS. Is that the Computer Information Security? I think that's the acronym for that. They have a whole hardening guide if anybody's interested in that. CIS, it's the CIS benchmarks. They have a website. You can download the PDF of their hardening guide. A lot of that follows the device configurator configurations. So I'm not going to go through that. But also, a lot of us are fans of Mike Bizzell. He writes a book called Extreme Privacy, and he has a bunch of recommendations as well. Let me real quick shut my notifications off because they're driving me crazy. I don't know how to do that. Okay, disable notification sounds. Hopefully that shuts it up. Okay. So yeah, Mike Bizzell, look him up. Extreme Privacy is his website, and I think it's Extreme Privacy. Let's see. If I'm wrong, I will post that later. And then all the different things I'll be talking about today too. I will be sharing the links to the like deep dive, in-depth reads onto the Meetup text channel after this. So if I miss anything, just let me know. So yeah, you guys can all see my screen, correct?
Sure can.
Inteltechnique.com.
Cool. So I am sharing my screen. You are going to see me put in passwords. I have some dummy passwords on here, so don't be surprised. No need to call me out. I have this old iPhone that I did wipe, and I have set up a Apple ID on here. I'm going to go kind of just through the basics, and it's going to be kind of in order, slightly. But so pulling up here, I'm going to be in settings. So the first area to focus on right now is your Apple ID. Your Apple ID is kind of like the heart of your Apple ecosystem. If you get access to your Apple accounts. People can do all sorts of bad things like wipe your phone. They can track you. They can get access to your data, iCloud, things like that. So having this part secure is probably the most critical, at least in regards to remote attacks against you. So one thing I recommend, and this is a semi good example I have here, is when you created an Apple ID, and whether you create one from scratch or you already have one, I do recommend using an email address that isn't particularly the one that you use for everything. That would just lowers your attack surface ever so slightly. So like, for example, I have this synact@null404.org. This is like my public email. Ideally, if you own your own domain and you can get away with having a unique email that's not very public, that people don't know, that can, like I mentioned, keep your attack surface lower. Ideally, if it would be from a domain that you own, so you can prevent additional levels of compromise as well. But that's just a recommendation. And like a lot of things I say here too, it all depends on your threat model as well too. Like, if you're a Joe Schmo on the street versus a CISO or CEO for a company, you guys are gonna have different threat vectors, threat models, and it will vary per person. Whether you're Joe Schmo or Taylor Swift. So keep that in mind too. So some of this might, and I'll kind of talk about what's extreme, what I think is kind of essential. The having kind of a unique email is kind of it would be nice to have. But going from there, if you go into sign in and security, the next thing I would recommend setting up if you haven't, and a lot of these things might be already covered, that you guys might have already covered, but this is, a lot of people forget a lot of these steps. So in this screen here, the next step would be two-factor authentication. So there you have, you can have a trusted phone number. I would recommend not using that. If you guys are aware of SIM swapping attacks, that can leave you open for folks trying to do recovery on your Apple ID account with your phone number. I'd recommend using security keys. So security keys, this is using FIDO security keys like a YubiKey or OnlyKey or things like that. And this will allow you to have like a physical token that can secure your account. So if somebody gets access to like your phone number or other things like that, you're just going to be you're going to lower your security across the board. So there is one thing to note though with Apple's implementation of using security keys. You have to, last time I checked, you have to have 2 physical security keys. So if you lose one, you have a backup, and they force you to do that. I don't know if they changed that policy, but within the last couple months, last time I tried that, that was the case. If you do have an only key, which I know it's not a lot of you guys probably do, if you have 2 only keys and one's based off a backup of the other, you can get away with using only one only key. But with like a YubiKey, you're going to need 2 physical ones. So, typically you have one on you at all times. You can put the other one like in a safe. That's the approach that I would go across. And then drop your phone number from here. And feel free to stop me if you guys have any questions too. From there, account recovery. I wouldn't really recommend using a recovery contact, but I would recommend setting up a recovery key. Like this describes here, it's going to give you a 28-character code that you want to save somewhere, particularly specifically offline, and print it out, put it in a safe. If you lose access to your account, that will be your backdoor in. So that's my next piece in here. Other than that, this screen, I don't really recommend any other changes. You can choose whether you want to set up a legacy or contact or not. not going to really put my 2 cents into that right now. From there, I'm going to jump down to iCloud. And the next big thing that Apple released recently is this thing called advanced data protection. And in here, what this does is enable end-to-end encryption to and from your device to Apple's cloud. And this list here are a few of the services that that end-to-end encryption is set up on. I do I have a link to? No, I don't have it right now. I'll provide a link to more details on what exactly end-to-end encryption covers. I think actually this might list it here. And like I said, I'll provide a link to this. On their webpage, they actually show which services here are in encrypted. You can see a list whether it's only in transit and on server, or it's actually end to end. And you can see right here that entire list. So, like I said, a link will be provided towards the end. And then to enable that, you just click this. I might not be able to do it. I might not be able to do this right now. Okay, so you'll have to set up an account recovery in order to get this in place, and you'll need to have the 2 YubiKeys or the 2 FIDO keys to get this to work. That is another requirement, and that's just in case you lose your, you need to get access to your phone. You need those FIDO keys to decrypt your data. Otherwise, you'll be completely locked out of your data. And you'll also get access to a recovery key as well, which I think is separate from the standard recovery key. I could be wrong. Just raise a hands. Anybody using this feature right now, or anybody that's not aware of this feature?
Real quick, Sean, back on the FIDO keys and such, is there something that you could point out later on what specific ones we should use? If it's like Wi-Fi or if it's like a lightning cable? I'm very unfamiliar with what kind of FIDO I could actually use on an iPhone. I know what I can use on a computer.
Yeah, I mean, to quickly brief on that, for an iPhone, you can theoretically use any FIDO key, like YubiKey. And I will say, I think it's going to be a YubiKey 5 or later. But I could be wrong. And yeah, I think I'll see if I can dig up on the site that tells you exactly which ones to use. But depending on which iPhone you have, whether it's a Lightning or it's a USB-C one, you can get adapters for your FIDO keys. And then if you have like a YubiKey, like the NFC version, you can just tap the YubiKey on the back of your phone up towards the top, and it will authenticate that way without you having to plug it in at all. So, but yeah, I'll share a link to that.
Thank you.
So going out, so that's a big one. This is a new feature that was announced not too long ago. I won't go into the iCloud Plus features. There are some cool features like private relay, which hides your IP address. There's a feature called Hide My Email, which is similar to like Anon Addy or 33 Mail that will give you private email addresses per account you sign up with. But that's a whole nother topic. This other feature down here called Access iCloud Data on Web, I would recommend turning this off. So if anybody does get access somehow to your iCloud account online on on the web browser side of things, if this is disabled, all your data will actually just not be accessible from the web. If you do need to get access to it on the web for whatever reason, then you can toggle this on temporarily. But this is just another safeguard. So having this turned off is a recommendation. Other than that, just keep aware of that list of items that are list of services that are being encrypted, and whether or not you want to have the ones that aren't enabled or not as a backup solution on your iCloud. So just another thing to keep in mind. Let's see. Another thing is Find My. So this is enabling the Find My iPhone feature. I would recommend setting this up. I won't go into like privacy aspects of the phone right now. This is more just security. But with the Find My feature, I'm sure you guys are all probably familiar with it. You lose your phone or if it gets stolen, you'll have access to remotely track the phone. You can ping it in case you lost it around your house or lost it in a park or in the public. You can also remotely wipe the phone as well. And then if the phone gets turned off for whatever reason, the baseband in the device is still powered on and will remotely allow you to view its location. Supposedly view its location. I haven't tested this actually, but it's supposed to give you protection while the phone's turned off. So another new feature that was brand new is called contact key verification. And what this is gives you, if you, it allows an iMessage to verify that the sender that you're communicating with is using end-to-end encryption and verification for the messages you have. Very, very similar to what you get in Signal or Wire app, where you can verify, and part of this verification is actually with comparing keys. So you can reach out to the individual, compare the key that they have. And I'm actually gonna do a demo of that right now. So I'm gonna enable verification. And like I said, I'll share a link to this as well too. And the person you're communicating with, they will need to have this enabled as well. But I'm gonna enable that. It's gonna take a second, and then on my other phone, I will set up a screenshot to share. Since I can't share two screens at the same time, I'll give you kind of an idea what this looks like. So give me 1 second. And hopefully it loads. I don't know why it's taking forever. Oh, yeah, I don't know what it's doing. We'll give it another minute. If not, then I can just share screenshots of this later, like what it looks like. But ideally, what you do is when you have this enabled, you would go into your iMessage, and when you're messaging somebody, it will actually tell you if the other individual has their contact key verification turned on or if it's turned off, and you'll be able to compare each other's public keys and verify the kind of like similar to a fingerprint, just like you would do in Wire or Signal, to verify that the fingerprints do match across the board. Apple's got their own little unique way of doing it, but it's very similar. And that kind of proves encryption between the two and authenticity. All right, well, this is not working, so kind of a bummer. Let me just try one more time, see if that's just weird connection issue. Do I have VPN on? No. Huh. Might be the network I'm on. You guys all hear me still?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Okay. Well, so yeah, I'd recommend turn that on. Sorry, I can't show it off right now, but I owe you guys that. So going back, there's one feature in here I can't forget to mention, and that's lockdown mode. And this is a new feature that was enabled with iOS 16, I believe. And this is pushing kind of to
Sean, do you want to
that
try
next
to
level.
do you want to try to restream your phone because we're getting no visual on our end?
Oh, really? Okay. Let me try that. Share my screen. All right. You guys see it?
Negative.
Oh. Share screen. Oh, what is this photos thing?
I
Hold
see
on.
something shared.
On. Yeah, I think it shared the wrong thing. Okay, let me try again. I think this is like a beta feature. All right. Better?
Still seeing two purple squares orbiting each other.
Really? Okay. Let me sign off and come right back on. Be right back.
Okay.
I mean, just my phone. I'll still be here. I'm signing on 2 devices. Let's see. Did it disconnect completely on your guys' end?
Yes.
Okay, let me try this again. It might be the network I'm on. It might be like booting me off, which is probably maybe why I had some signal issues. Here, let me connect to a hotspot real quick. That might be why things didn't work. So 1 second. Doing it live.
Gotta love the demo gods.
Oh yeah. All right. So got here. Oh yeah, I got booted off the network here. All right, cool. I think I'm back online now. All right, join voice. Let me make sure I don't get any I got Discord acting up. All right, almost made it in. All right, let me make sure I don't get feedback real quick. Okay, cool. All right, I think then I can maybe do my demo because that explains why it didn't work because I had no internet. All right, share my screen, start broadcasting. All right,
And
cool.
Yep, we got you back.
We all good? Sweet. Okay. So real quick, let me go back then and show that feature I was just talking about, which was contact verification, because it is kind of cool. So back on here, contact verification, I'm gonna enable that and hit continue, and it should hopefully work. Ah, yeah, there we go. So you can show your public verification code, and you can share this publicly, it's just like your public key. And then when we go to communicate with somebody, so this is my other iPhone. Let me see real quick if it's enabled. So, how you verify is, let me click this real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna click this right here. I'm gonna hit verify contact. And then what it says right here is on my other phone, I need to have verify contact open as well. And what I'm going to do is we're going to verify with each person, maybe on a phone call or whatever, or in person, ideally, whether the numbers match. Once they've matched, and the screen on my other phone, instead of showing you guys an example, it looks exactly the same. It's the exact same number, and I'll mark. Shouldn't do that, but whatever. Yeah, mark as verified, and that will show as a little check mark that the person's been verified. So I'm just going to go back, and then so that's verified contact, cool feature. Let me go back here. All right. From there, the next thing I want to kind of cover is that lockdown mode. Oh, stop sharing. What happened here? You guys can still see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. All right. So advanced protection. Okay. Oh yeah. So we were talking lockdown mode beforehand. So lockdown mode. Let me go back down here. So privacy, security, and lockdown mode. So turn lockdown mode on. What this will do is I'm not going to enable right now. It's going to require you to restart your phone. So this is something like if you have a pretty high threat model where you have, maybe you're high profile, you are constantly, under attack. Maybe you're in the press, maybe you're a high profile figure like a CEO or things like that. You can enable this mode and just handicap your phone a little bit, but it's not too bad. I've ran it for a while on and off. What it will do is it will, like it says here, most message attachments will be blocked. Things like photos, videos that will work, GIFs and things like that may not. FaceTime, you can only incoming calls will only work with people that you've communicated with before. So there's been a lot of attacks both with iMessage and FaceTime where they could like eavesdrop on you or send you a malicious file, and they were able to take advantage like 0 days on the iPhones. Also, certain things in Safari will be blocked. Photos, the wireless connectivity. It doesn't state it here, but a couple things it does is it doesn't let you connect to non-secure Wi-Fi automatically. So if you joined them before, it won't automatically reattach to them. You can still connect to them. It just won't join automatically. You have to go manually click on it. Another thing too is you can actually toggle connecting to 2G networks. 2G networks have lower security standards, like lower encryption standards and things like that. So you can block your iPhone from trying to connect to those networks, which will give you a little bit more security. Also, profiles. Profiles are like configuration profiles on your phone can't be installed while this is on, which could break a lot of like corporate and education like MDM solutions. So that's something to keep in mind. So this is probably like the most hardened form of using your phone. You just will have several things that will be slightly handicapped, but day to day, you typically won't notice a lot of things. There will be some websites that may not load properly. There may be some images or types of files that get sent to you that may not work, but for the most part, everything will function pretty normally. So moving on from there, Wi-Fi, I do have an example of Wi-Fi. So if you do connect to a network, this was a screenshot I took. There are some modes you can turn on. A couple things like if you're on a insecure network that you've connected to and you don't want to automatically join in the future, I would recommend toggling off auto join. That way you don't connect to like a Starbucks you connected to the one time. Ideally, you won't connect to those type of public networks, but if you have to, just toggle that off. Private Wi-Fi address. What this will do is randomly generate a different MAC address each time you join a Wi-Fi network. This is something you wouldn't want to have enabled at home, especially if you use DHCP. But if you use, if you're like on an open network or private or a public network, you would enable this to limit types of tracking. Let's move on. So from there, going to the so there's a app in here, or there's a feature in here called screen time. So this is designed to kind of like limit children and people like that from using certain apps or features in the phone. But there actually are some security benefits you can get from enabling this, and I'll give an example. So a couple things I recommend using this for is passcode changes account changes and cellular data changes. So if you disable this, so I have this just dummy pin code in here. I'm going to set this to do not allow to these options, and these three are what I recommend. One thing is when you first set up screen time, you'll be asked to enter a special PIN. So this is like a completely separate PIN from your normal passcode. And if somebody gets access to your phone, like let's say your phone's unlocked, you set it down, somebody steals your phone, they get access to your phone. They can lock you out of all your Apple devices and wipe your phone, and even worse, they can get access to your bank account, things like that. But with this enabled, with those settings I just set, if you try to go change your Apple ID, you try to click up here, you'll see that it's grayed out. Also, some certain cellular features will be non-functional with that mode enabled, and I think also, yeah, the password, what is it called? It's called Face ID and passcode settings will be completely missing. And in order to get those back, you have to go over to screen time, and you have to go back over here, and you'll have to rechange the settings. So if I go and change the setting to allow, and we go back out, you'll see that where is it at? I think I have that exit and come back in here. The Face ID and passcode settings are now back here. So same with up here to the Apple ID information. If you want to access that, you just come back over here and re-enable that. So it's just a little additional security. There were Apple did actually introduce a feature to help remediate against some of these attacks. There was these attacks going around like New York and other areas, typically targeting women who were like at the bar on their iPhone, and these people would like shoulder surf these women and watch them put in their PIN codes. And then what they would do is they'd go, and when the women weren't looking, they would snatch the phones. And since they had the PIN code, they were able to get access to the phone because whether or not you have Face ID or Touch ID enabled, with a PIN code you can bypass all that. So enabling this on top of that will require a completely different PIN code to get to these special features on the phone. Apple, like I mentioned, Apple did introduce a feature to kind of solve for this. Let me see if I can remember what it's called. Yeah, it's under Face ID and passcode. So my passcode is 90210. So no need to remember that. So there's a feature, and yeah, actually this doesn't show up on my phone too. I think it's because I don't have a SIM card in here. But I took a screenshot of it. This is what it looks like right here. So this is under the passcode and security feature on your phone. You'll have this option called stolen protection. And what this does is your phone will typically determine where, if you have location services on, your phone kind of learns where you're at and learns whether you're at home or you're at work or you're in an area where you're normally not typically at. And with this feature enabled, if you're in these areas that are not very familiar to your phone, and somebody goes and tries to change one of those critical settings like your Apple ID password or things like that, it's going to require Face ID. So, and it will also add a delay to how fast somebody can make those changes. So not if somebody has your PIN code, that's not going to be enough. It's going to almost enable like a two-factor authentication where it's going to require a PIN code and a face unlock to then make changes to these settings that can lock you out of your accounts. So this is a brand new feature. I think it got dropped in iOS 17.3. So pretty cool. I recommend enabling that as well. So let me go back in here too. I'll talk about some other settings I recommend enabling. So Face ID, I would recommend that. Like I said, if somebody shoulder surfs you, watches you put your PIN code in, they can get access to your phone. Face ID, as an alternative way. So when you're out and about to unlock your phone, you're not going to be forced to always put in your PIN code. You can use Face ID to unlock it. If you have an older iPhone, you might have Touch ID. Face ID is supposedly a little bit more secure. Also, this require attention for Face ID. This actually like requires you to look at your phone, so somebody can't like steal your phone and shove it up in your face and unlock your phone. So something to keep in mind. Just note on a privacy side of things or security side of things, you can be forced by law to, to unlock your device by like the authorities with your fingerprint or your face. If you're at like an airport within like 50 miles from the border, they can force you to unlock your devices. So if you use a like a PIN code or password, those are things that they can't force out of you, but they can force you to put your finger on the phone or to use your face to unlock. So just something to keep in mind. It's a whole different topic. I won't go super into right now. Also, too, with the passcodes, I would recommend not using a simple passcode. I would recommend enabling the I don't know where it's at right here, but the either alphanumeric or the more complex passcode. That way you can have up to I don't know if there's even a limit to like how many digits for your passcode, and as the longer your passcode, the harder it is to unlock your phone. I believe it adds more entropy to the encryption that's on the device as well too. So something to keep in mind. I only got a few more things, so I know we're kind of getting down to time. If another thing to come over here is privacy and security, it's always a good idea to come over here and remove access for different applications to things that those apps don't need access to. So contacts, Bluetooth, the camera, things like that. Do you want to get an idea what's been going on your phone? This app privacy report will, if you have this enabled, it'll tell you what apps are doing behind the scenes, whether they're using your camera, whether they're going to certain websites. You can kind of get a clear picture of what's going on. Why is this one app always using the microphone or the camera when it shouldn't be? You'll be able to get a clear context of that from this page. Also, an easy one to do is this display and brightness settings. Set your auto lock to preferably 30 seconds to 1 minute. I have it set to 5 minutes right now just for the demo, but the shorter that is, if you leave your phone unattended, it will lock sooner and keep your information private. What else we got here? What else do we have? AirDrop, another thing to turn off if you're not using it. VPN. So I'm not going to get into details of which VPN is the best to use. I typically will use a combination of like Molvad or Proton VPN. I recommend using a VPN and using one that's always enabled. In your VPN set, when you download a VPN provider on your phone, there will be a option in here to connect on demand, and that will keep your phone always connected to the VPN, regardless of whether you're on Wi-Fi or cellular. If you do use WireGuard, there is a WireGuard client. WireGuard's got some cool functions that allow you to choose to have your VPN on, whether it's if it's on cellular, but let's say you're at home on your Wi-Fi, you can have your VPN actually turn off. That's what I typically do. So when I'm at home and I'm on my private network, the VPN will turn off. I have my own VPN on my private network at home, but I want to get access like to my DNS and things like that. That's a cool function out of WireGuard. If you use Proton VPN, there's a cool feature in here called where is it? It's VPN kill switch. There is I can share a link to it. There is some known caveats with this kill switch feature where it doesn't block all traffic all the time, but it is pretty good. But theoretically, how this works is if your VPN, for whatever reason, disconnects, you will then lose access to all internet. So to help prevent you from accidentally leaking data that you don't intend to be out on maybe the clear web, not on the VPN. So, and a lot of these VPNs also have features that can block not only malware, but ads and trackers as well too. That's kind of cool. Another thing too, this is probably something that I would assume a lot of you guys may not use, is DNS over HTTPS. You can actually download profiles off the internet for this. I'll share a link to this site right here, this GitHub repo here. But these are encrypted DNS profiles you can install on your phone. Anytime you install a profile on your phone, a configuration profile, you can see what it's doing, and you can actually they're all available to examine from this site as well too. But for example, like if you download like this Quad 9 encrypted DNS provider, it will you can choose between DNS over HTTPS or DNS over TLS. And this will not only encrypt your DNS connection, but also block potentially malware-related DNS calls, like to different sites and things like that. And you can literally just click this here, and it'll actually have you download the profile. Like I said, you can view these to verify that they are legit. Also, you can get signed ones from this as well. And if I go to general and VPN device management, you'll see I have this installed, and this is all it does right here. And this just ensures that all your DNS traffic is encrypted. So cool feature. For those who have Android phones, this is a feature that's built in. What else? A couple other small things I recommend typically too is for your browser. I use a ad blocker that's open source. I use AdGuard. I don't have it installed here, but if you look it up, AdGuard, it is completely open source, and it leverages lists similar to what you get with like uBlock Origin. And you can have those lists pre-generated, so it will block ads within the websites you visit from Safari, including YouTube ads, which is the one I love. I use it for. So all those advertisements on YouTube can be blocked. This is only going to be like what's in Safari, or if you're like an app that uses a web browser, it will block those as well. And then if you need to go to on the website that you're on, if you don't want ads to be blocked, you'll have an option when you click this side button here. There will be a button that says disable content blockers, and you can disable content blocking for that one specific website. Other than that, kind of the last thing, I think there's two small things I want to mention. There is a feature that was introduced, I think, in iOS 16 under Wi-Fi and edit on the top right, 90210. Any previous network you've connected to in the past will be listed here, and you can remove those. So if you have like Starbucks or AT&T Wi-Fi or in some other insecure Wi-Fi networks, you do want to you would recommend removing those. Something to note about Wi-Fi that a lot of folks don't realize, and I don't think this has changed with any of the newer Wi-Fi profiles, is every Wi-Fi address that every Wi-Fi access point you've connected to in the past, your phone, whether you're connected, when your phone's not connected to a Wi-Fi network, your phone will go out and broadcast publicly. You can see this with Wireshark. It'll call out publicly saying, "Hey, where's Starbucks Wi-Fi? Where's my home Wi-Fi? Where's Wi-Fi XYZ?" And it will go and broadcast out publicly, looking for previous Wi-Fi networks that you've connected to in the past. And if you have like a unique Wi-Fi network at home, and you're walking around down the street and your phone's like looking for Wi-Fi, somebody with Wireshark can pretty much pick that up and see, oh look, this guy, maybe it's you and one other guy at the park, and you're sniffing the Wireshark traffic right then and there. You'd be able to see that, that guy right there, that phone he's using, he's trying to connect back to this Wi-Fi network, and if it's his home and it's unique, you theoretically, using like Wiggle or something like that, could figure out where that person lives. So some fun fact, I don't think they've changed that feature in the Wi-Fi protocol, but something to keep in mind. If you do connect to public Wi-Fi networks, I recommend getting a travel router. I recommended these for DEF CON or for traveling or for conferences. I could share a link to that if anybody's interested. Lastly, the last thing I would recommend is something to block robocalls and spammers. That can lead to phishing attacks and other types of chances of people trying to exploit you. The app that I use is called RoboKiller. There's a small fee you pay every month or every year for it. But what it'll do is it will let you know if it's a potential spammer. It will automatically block those spammers as well too, and you can also put them into like a kind of like a queue where you can like filter out on the fly whether you want to answer that call or not. So yeah, I think I've covered everything. Does anybody have any questions? Making it easy on me?
That seems that way, my friend. Yeah, that was an excellent presentation.
Cool. Well, yeah. Well, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I will get those links published later this evening, and then if there's anything else, let me know. And then if anybody's interested in a follow-up talk, I can do that either on privacy on iOS or even going into on the Android side of things. So yeah.